Walter Winchell reporting here with Nina Tottenberg. Viewpoint is your program this morning. We're all starting a few minutes early, so call your mother and father, tell them you're late. Joe and Jean are on. This morning we're going to have a bifurcated program. We have a couple of very fine guests with us this morning. And I'm going to start the festivities right away, having Mrs. Busby introduce these gentlemen.
Yeah, we got two really nice guys here who have a project.
You're going to find out how nice they are.
That have a project going here in the big city of Lincoln, America. And it's very worthwhile. It's Workcamp for Lincoln. And
okay, let's define that just a minute now. This work camp has nothing to do with anybody who got in any trouble.
Corrections.
That's right.
Let's set those guidelines out first and foremost.
It's literally translated. It's actually a camp for kids to learn to work.
That's right.
Which is a noble thing.
Yeah.
The American way.
That's right.
Even.
Yeah.
I think the concept is a marvelous concept. There's a great need. A lot of kids just don't have the ability, for one reason or another, however legitimate, of continuing their education after they graduate from high school. There's a void there. And those who seek people coming to repair their HVAC, their heating, ventilation, and cooling, those who have a minor carpenter job, sometimes they find it difficult. Sometimes they need an electrician. They find it difficult to get an electrician for a very simple job. And we're in this, as I understand it, gentlemen, that's the basis of this course. We're teaching hands-on training for people to learn skills which they need to know.
That's right. We're finding, the skilled trades is becoming less and less popular or less opportunity. Yeah. And I think that culturally, when we've moved from rural to more urban, there's less kids raised on a farm that are used to using a hammer or a saw or those kinds of things. And so this opportunity is great for them because most of these kids don't have this experience of building a wheelchair ramp or painting a house or repairing soffits or gutters, that kind of thing. So it gives them a real skill.
Fathers. Mm-hmm. So who's
Correct.
to teach them?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But you contact these kids through the churches. Is that right?
The organization is called Group Mission Trips, that actually out of Fort Collins, Colorado, and they work with thousands of churches nationwide. And they recruit these kids and youth groups to come to these work camps, 20 of which are happening this summer, all over the United States. We just happen to have one here in Lincoln
only
this year
20.
for the first time. So.
And I say only 20 because the United States is a huge territory.
Yep.
And so some kids they're going to fall through the cracks. Not everybody has a place like we have down in Springfield to go to and learn trades.
Right. Yeah. That's correct.
So here's an opportunity for some kid to pick up a left-handed or a right-handed hammer and know how to use it.
That's right. That's correct. Yep. So they recruit these kids.
It's a marvelous program.
Each of them pays around $400 to come and to participate. So they take a week out of their summer vacation and they go to a community that's not their own and come and work on homes for the disabled and the elderly or low-income families, all at no charge to the residents.
Do you have all boys in the program?
Oh no. It's I would say that it more tilts probably to more girls than boys,
really?
Traditionally in youth groups and that kind of thing. So
and you teach them the same, like, quote, building trades.
Exact same stuff that they'll learn. Exact
Nothing
same
wrong
skills.
With that.
Yeah. In fact, what's really neat this year is I'm a former youth pastor as well that took kids on mission trips, and they like the big long road trip. They don't like to go to like real close places. They like to go and see the sights and do that. So it's hard to convince kids from their own town to go to a trip in their own town. But we've got 5 girls from Lincoln Christian Church who actually paid the money, and they're going to stay at LCU, and they're going to fully participate in a work camp in their own hometown. which is really cool. So,
The other participants, however, will also be staying at Lincoln
same place
Christian.
at Lincoln Christian University, and they'll all come from outside the area. I know one group's coming from Bloomington, but like I said, I was at a work camp in South Dakota last week, and there were groups from Florida and Pennsylvania and Michigan and all over the United States. So they'll be coming in from all over the place to come and to stay the week here at the end of the month.
And we planned this for a while, too.
I've got 3 girls, and one of them, the middle one, can do anything that any boy can do. And you know, it's darn lucky, because sometimes these kids grow up and get married and he doesn't know from apple butter.
You know, it occurs to me that your professional training, Mr. Henry, fits right in with this extracurricular work that you're doing. You're a special ed professional in District 27.
Yep.
So it kind of ties right in.
Yeah, I've worked with teenagers for the last 20 years in nonprofit organizations, and then I kind of switched over to become a full-time teacher then in the public schools. And so, yeah, I've been on lots of these trips. In fact, my association with these work camps is I've done them for the last 20 years, every summer, different parts of the United States. So it's always been my dream to bring one to my hometown and do it here. So yeah, I'm really well aware of the experience, and Tim that's with me, I got him to start going, guys from my church to start going, and they would help teach the kids the skills, and so Tim's kind of my right-hand man with doing this one here. He oversees the sites and like going and visiting with the residents and measuring different things and making sure that we can do the work for them and that kind of thing. So he's been really essential to the planning of this.
Do they tell you what they want you to do? For instance, build a handicapped ramp, or do you tell them, you know, you could really use a handicapped ramp?
That's a good question. Yeah, because when we go there, they have an idea what they want. You know, like they need a wheelchair ramp, or they need a porch that's bigger to get in and out of their house, or, you know, and there's some pride in owning their own home. So these are homeowners that they're not entities of some type. Usually they're a person that owns a home. They want to have some pride in it. So it's all of Logan County. And so sometimes we have to nudge them towards things, because you got to look at the experience. These are junior hires and senior hires that'll be doing it. They're monitored by adults, so there's usually 6 or 7 at each site, and we have about 40 in Logan County with Lincoln and around us. But when they're there, we kind of suggest some things too that were within the wheelhouse. If they say, oh, you can't do, like, we don't do major roof work or whatever, or a new furnace,
New plumbing.
New plumbing, something that's very technical. But this is like the introduction, you know. And when we see something that they have a need for, then we want to share that, because all this is at no cost to them.
Now, what is the homeowner's responsibility? Is there a cost to the homeowner, or a responsibility for lunch or high tea? Or?
No, they're really not. It's completely free to the owner for materials and labor and everything. And the kids also, when they're there, not only want to do the work, but get to know the residents and a little bit about Lincoln and the culture here and their families. And so you find that during that short time during the week, those kids really develop a relationship with that resident and get to know them and their families and that kind of thing. So it's a really opportunity to...
The program like this costs some money.
Yes, it does.
Let's get down to basics here.
Yeah.
Funding. How are you folks funded, and how can Mr. and Mrs. John Q. Public out there on Main Street, or Broadway as the case may be, you know, there are a lot of people who wouldn't mind coming up with a couple extra bucks for such a great program. And you, did I understand that these youngsters pay $400 to join you?
Yeah, and that goes to the organization,
the tuition, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of, that goes a lot to materials and overhead, and we rent facilities for them to stay in and all their food and that kind of thing. But locally, I've been in charge of the fundraising to match those funds to pay for building supplies and materials and hosting and insurance and a bunch of different things.
And that's why we have you gentlemen up here. We want to put out a plea for some money.
Okay.
Now, if somebody is motivated to write you a check for $100, well, why not? Consider it. That's not much today. In any event, seriously, if somebody is constrained to make a contribution, how would they go about that? To whom do they make the check out, and how do they address it?
They would make the check out to Capsule, Community Action Partnership of Central Illinois.
Which does a tremendous amount of good for us.
Yeah,
here.
they've been an essential partner of ours because they're kind of our bank, so they hold our funds for us as a program. And if anyone wanted to write a check, they could just write it to Capsule and then put Workcamp for Lincoln in the memo, and it'll go to us. But they've also been essential in finding, a lot of their clientele that they work with are people that are in need that we were able to find. They need work on their houses. And so when people applied, they applied through Capsule, and Capsule checks to make sure they're homeowners and different income levels and that kind of thing and stuff, so that we're not working for landlords or that kind of thing. So they've been huge and also in procuring grants. They're a 501c3 organization, so with a lot of respect in the area. So we got grants from Ameren, from State Bank of Lincoln, Regions Bank, Integrity Data, the hospital in town, State Farm, a lot of local businesses, local churches. So and
helping to underwrite this program.
Yeah, and I would say even the city of Lincoln and the Logan County Board put their money in too. So they really had buy-in. So it was really a true community effort to get this together.
Well, that benefits everybody that's concerned, because you have the satisfaction of knowing that your fellow Lincolnites are living in good housing.
And people are going to know that we're going to be here.
What do you do when it isn't summer?
Well, I'm a claims adjuster. I'm an independent claims adjuster, so I kind of am technical with knowing what needs to be repaired and how to do it, and which has helped me. And Todd invited me 7 years ago to go to a work camp for Lincoln in a different state, and we made a little road trip, just me and him.
A little 19-hour road trip to New York.
So it was a long 20-hour flight.
Now, when these youngsters go into community, for instance, do we currently have youngsters working in Lincoln, Logan County, and they come from other places, so we house them here? And do I understand that we have them on the Lincoln Christian University campus? Yeah,
they'll stay on the campus of Lincoln Christian University, and they'll eat in the cafeteria, and we contract with them. And then there's morning and evening programs that we have because it's a faith-based project, and so we do that in the gymnasium and that kind of thing. But they work all day from like 9 o'clock in the morning till about 3:30 in the afternoon that they're out on sites. And you'll begin to see some signs. We already have a couple billboards up across from the old Kroger, and there'll be signs saying they're coming, that my PR team is kind of putting around town. But each home site will also have a sign in it. And so we just want to encourage people in the community that when they go by and they see these signs or these kids working this week in July, to honk at them or to wave at them or to stop and say thank you or for being here, that kind of thing. So you'll see them all over the place. Yeah.
This is a wonderful program, Judith Kay.
Oh my! In so many ways.
Yeah. Number one, the kids that are a part of it, they have a vested interest because they came up with $400 to start with,
and their time taken off a week to do this to Lincoln. And first, that was the sell too. Lincoln, because a lot of these places they have lakes or an ocean or something they can go to, or the mountains or Indian reservation. That's really different than their own culture.
We have most of that.
That we do. That's we have a small.
Yeah, we're hyping the covered wagon big time.
We're pushing that one. Right.
But the thing of it is, you're teaching basic skills. Some people don't know how to pick up a hammer, seriously.
Right.
I'm not being facetious.
And like what Judy said, it's really so multifaceted, because usually, but COVID has played a big part in kind of messing some things up for us. Our numbers aren't where we thought we would be, a lot larger, but over 200 students and workers that are coming to this camp, and then all the people they affect. There's so many dimensions to it. It's just really a blessing to be part of it. We're blessed by just being part of it. And this has taken over a year and a half to kind of put together, so we didn't just start last month.
No, you're working for a year and a half down the pike then to see what you're going to do
In the
then.
future, yeah, because this is the very first one in Lincoln. So this is
Yes,
Now, if
we've
some-
not heard of it before, have we?
Excuse me. No, I'm fascinated with this program. I think it's a marvelous thing for youngsters.
Oh, my.
And a spin-off from that, it's a marvelous thing for us old people.
And for homeowners,
Some people,
and for the town.
Some people may
yeah.
have the ability, but no longer physically can do things in their
Yes.
house.
Exactly.
And those people in that category might want to slip an extra buck to whomever that would be. Capsule.
Yep.
It doesn't take. You don't have to write a check for $100. Lord, we'd take a whole bunch of $25 or $20 checks.
That's right.
We're not proud.
Yeah.
This is a program that requires a lot of vested interest and a lot of help.
And our
So-
intentions are that it be more than 1 year. Like we kind of need to prove ourselves this year that we do a great job of hosting and everything goes smooth. But fingers crossed. We hope to do this more, in years to come in Lincoln and to really build up. And like there's this town in Racine, Wisconsin that
Yeah.
did it for 20 years in a row. Did over 1,000 houses.
Wow.
So you can imagine the change in their neighborhoods when you do 1,000 houses in a community. That kind of thing. So, and there's definitely the need. I mean, here in Lincoln, there are definitely more that we had to turn away or that maybe do next year, that kind of thing, to still improve the community and the surrounding areas.
Now there's homeowner A who has the physical ability, but is under economic circumstances, and homeowner B who's just physically not able to do these things anymore.
Correct.
And they would be candidates to know what they would do if they had a steps that needed replaced or whatever in their house. Call Capsule.
Yeah, they
Make themselves
our
known.
applications are closed for this year's program, but they can
Well,
always
yeah.
get in line for the next one. And they go to capsule.info. capcil.info, and there's an
Write that down, folks.
online application they fill out, and that comes to us after they fill out their information. Capsule kind of vets it and makes sure it's a homeowner and stuff, and then it comes to us, and then we go visit the homeowners and we get the thing started.
How many are you doing here in Lincoln this round?
Well, about 40 houses, most of which are in Lincoln, but we're also where?
Emden, Mount Pulaski, Chestnut, Atlanta.
The suburbs.
Yes.
Yeah,
the suburbs.
that's right.
Yeah,
There
our
you
Lincoln
go.
suburbs. Right, staying in that
Yeah.
big city atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's just such a blessing. This is just our first go. I mean, where Todd went for the last year for funds and things, because you have to have quite a bit of money to start. And the big thing with COVID, the prices just went astronomical on materials.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
he's gotten enough funding through other entities that really has helped cushion that. And that's really been a blessing too.
Well, the prices all went up on materials and food
yeah.
and all the things that you can imagine
Yeah.
are required for all these kids.
And talking to Allison out at Capsule too, that we're really, I think, meeting a huge need, because during COVID, when people lost their jobs and different things or were furloughed, people in this lower income bracket had to choose to buy groceries and buy gas over repairing their home.
Yeah.
And so there's less money available to do those kinds of things. And so we're kind of filling that gap for the finances that it would take to do those repairs.
Now, does your work camp do basically wood working, or do you do concrete?
No,
And
mostly
other-
the things that they really focus on: the whole house painting, weatherization. Now, because of again COVID, we're restricted to being on the outside only, the exterior of the home.
Oh.
So we can't do interior, but they do interior things like painting rooms and repairing drywall. Yeah. Weatherization around windows from the inside, but because of the COVID restrictions, we went into this when COVID happened this year. We didn't even know if we were going to have it, but we had to go full force as if we were going to have it regardless, and it's panned out because it has. Luckily, the restrictions have lessened. So primarily now it's all outside. Now we have new challenges like having some place for them to go to the bathroom, and they can't go in the house, and there's still mask restrictions. So we're following all those COVID restrictions as well to protect them and make them feel comfortable. But it's all outside. So the big thing that we like to see, the changes that they really needed, is a ramp. We really, because they don't have any other way of getting in and outside their house. But we'll do other things like some concrete stuff to a minimal amount, but they don't. And again, they don't go into the big things things like,
Foundations,
structurally,
so-
and roofs and
648
stuff.
5510. We're going to have to close out with Mr. Beck and Mr. Henry in a couple of minutes here. So if you have a question, this is really a very worthwhile program for kids. And it's a spin-off. It's a worthwhile program for a lot of seniors who are in need. So now, Mr. Beck, with Todd's special education background, he's a natural for this.
He is.
How did you happen to fall on this ship?
Yes, we had gone to the same church, part of a men's group, Men
Yeah.
on Fire, and we met through that. And he was pushing that right at the beginning and wanted to speak to the guys, and there was an interest that sparked that, and so he kind of got me hooked in from that.
Well, thank you for that
developed
service.
That
It was a
friendship.
neat opportunity for these guys, because a
Yeah.
lot of men, when you talk about your faith and wanting to share it, not a lot of guys want to talk a lot and stuff, and
Yeah.
like kind of get up front and stuff, but they can use their hands to show people that God loves them by using their hands and their skills, and so it's been a great opportunity for a lot of these men to say, oh, I can use what I've got, to participate and to love on these kids and to help make a difference that way. Maybe I don't like to share necessarily verbally, but I can really use what God's given me skills wise.
That's how men relate too, working on a project for a common good with others, and have that bond in a different way where it's not so face to face. You're working alongside each other on a certain project, and that builds that camaraderie. So that was a good
There's
step.
the word altruism. This is an altruistic program, but it does more than that. It's a lot more than altruism. It shifts down to the basics in life. And so if you're going about out and about, if you're coming out of Old Joe's or someplace like that, and you happen to see a gentleman with a Workcamp for Lincoln shirt on, shake his hand, and maybe you might have a $5 or $10 bill in your hand as you exchange greetings. This is a great program. Capsule. I want to emphasize that. They're a great organization here in Lincoln, Logan County. They do a lot of good. This certainly manifests itself in something that is very specific, and it's going to be a spinoff. I talk about kids who are lucky enough to have great parents. Your parents did a hell of a job with you, young man.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we appreciate your being with us. We're going to take a short commercial break. Tim Beck and Todd Henry, working for Workcamp for Lincoln. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate being with
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Right back live in the studios here at WLCN. Our guest that we just thanked very much for being with us had to do with Workcamp for Lincoln, project under the mantle of the capsule, and I don't know all the names for that capsule, but I'd like to be a little smarter than that. But I know where it's going, and it does a lot of good for people here in Logan County. So we had Tim Beck and Todd Henry with us. We appreciated their taking their time. Our bifurcated program this morning. Before we introduce our next guest, Judith K., I've always tried to come up with a kudo or two as we start Viewpoint. There's something going on in the community that I would like to talk about right now. As you go through life, you meet certain people on the street and there's various places that just kind of resonate with you. And so it has been with myself and former Deputy Sheriff Scott Brown. Scott Brown was a unique individual. He's one of God's special men. We have some fine men on our police force here. Chief Paul Adams has a great city police, and Mark Landers, we have a great sheriff's department. Scotty not only was a law officer, he taught kids what was known as Taekwondo. That's a martial arts type program. But I want to tell you, those kids who worked with Scott Brown did a lot more than learn about Taekwondo. They learned about being citizens. And so they're going to have the first annual Scott Brown Memorial Scholarship Golf Outing Friday, July 16th. That's coming up very quickly at the golf course here in Lincoln. And the proceeds are going to be able to carry on Scotty's mission and believe that everyone needs a helping hand. Well, that's a fact. We just talked about that when this working for the Workcamp for Lincoln. So we're going to have a special. We need some money for Scott for making some memorials in his name, and Officer Christy Frugier with the Lincoln Police Department would be very tickled, and Ron Boyd at the Logan County Sheriff's Office would be tickled to death to have you call them. Ron's number would be 217-735-6720. Christy Frugier, who has police blood in her blood, certainly, 217-732-2151. Think about that, folks. Come up with a couple extra bucks in Scott Brown's memory. He was a whale of an individual. I was very proud to have known him down through the short years that I did know him. So, Judith Kay, let's introduce our guest this morning.
Yes.
Our second guest this morning.
Yes. Mike Maske is kind of an annual guest of ours because he's been the secretary of the Logan County Fair Association as long as we've been on the air. And I think you come out to tout the Logan County Fair annually with us, and we appreciate that. And how is it all going?
Well, it's going
August 1
great.
through 8 will be the days, so it's coming.
COVID has its effect. Now, is it an ongoing thing, Mike, as you prepare for this 2021 Logan County Fair?
Well, we when we pulled the plug last year and said, we just want to keep everybody safe, we didn't have any idea if we'd go back again. We didn't know how long this pandemic was going to last, and we were just. We were hoping that this year we would continue our 85th fair, but we really didn't know. So about February, we put plans in place to say, look, unless there is a big outbreak, with the help of the health department, we plan to have a fair. So we've been very positive, working toward that, working with the health department and what we have to do to keep our people safe. So in the meantime, we have to make sure that all of our volunteers come back, because it's been in the past that our volunteers and our superintendents and everybody, we just assumed that they were coming back. Well, now we have to contact them because it's a year later, and there are some of our fair family that are no longer here. Mm-hmm. So we've been working on trying to contact them, and we have got a really, really good staff in the office right now. Several people in there that are just, they're go-getters, they're detailed people, and unlike me, they are to the point and dot their I's and cross their T's, and I kind of get in there and kind of mess things up. But anyway,
I doubt that.
In between all of this, we've had several big livestock shows that have demanded a lot of our attention, but also yield us some good income. So, and when you have a fair and don't have any income for a whole year, you got to kind of scratch the bottom of the bucket to keep on going, because our bills still come in every day, our Silco and our water bill and everything like that. But so we've been very fortunate to put together some events that were for the community, but also for these livestock shows. So we thank you for all the promotion and publicity that you give us, especially Bill Gossett, and we've known you guys forever and ever, and thanks for all your help.
Well, Billy Gossett remembers, what was the second Logan County Fair? Did that start in 1937, Mike? 1937. Yes, and I used to sell programs out there for Wilbur Lehman. I think we sold them for $0.10 a piece. I think we got 2 cents the commission for them. And early on, and that's how I started my early entrepreneurships, as I started selling these programs. And by the way, those days we had some great horses. And the organizers of that Logan County Fair the second time around were very smart in picking the week just prior to the state fair.
That is great.
And we got, as a result thereof, we got some fine athletes. We've had some fine horses, animal athletes, and we had some good programs. I remember early on, Mike, about the first day I was selling these programs, and people asked me for pencils. Wanted to mark the scorecards. Oh, well, heck, I didn't have any pencils.
You sold them pencils?
I solved that problem. The next morning, I went down to Kresge's dime store and I bought a bunch of pencils.
Oh, gosh.
And I think I upgraded them about 10 cents a piece.
That's okay. That's the American way.
Early entrepreneurship. Let's talk about Mike Maske, the auctioneer. That's a real. I'd like to just, Judith, with your permission, this kind of blindsiding you a little bit. Auctioneering is an art. It really, truly is. We've had some interesting auctioneers down through the years here in Logan County. I know one of them would auction off cakes, and nobody wanted to buy the cakes because he spit all over them.
Oh gosh.
Colonel Wolpert. He had. He chewed tobacco when he sold his items. So, but he had. I tell you what, when you're in that auction truck, and it's really distracting when you have somebody either standing in front of you talking because they try to out-talk the PA, or standing behind you and talking. It's kind of like talking on a telephone and having somebody talk in your ear. You can't concentrate. So his method of keeping those people out of the way was chew tobacco, and he spit all the time, and those people stayed out from in front of him. So he's pretty sharp in his day.
Oh my goodness!
Where did you get your auctioneer training, sir?
I started in 1976 while I was still in high school. Went to a little school in
think of that,
Decatur at the YMCA, and some of the local auctioneers, very successful people, put this together twice a year in the spring and fall. And so I went through the other day, and the first day you walked in there, they didn't talk about the auction chant. They talked about auction contracts, and they talked about business. But one of the biggest things that I remember, they would start with a person in the front row, the front seat in the front room, and Judy Busby would stand up and say, "My name is Judy Busby from Lincoln, Illinois." And then the next person would stand up and say, "My name is Bill Gossett from Lincoln, Illinois." And then you go back, "My name is Judy," and then Bill Gossett, and then you get the third person. And we went all the way through 40 people, and I bet you to this day I can name at least half of them and where they were from. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of funny. One of those guys, he was older than I was, and kind of went for a second career, and he was from Papineau, Illinois. And it's just down the road, actually, from where Bill Marcotte was raised. Oh. And so I went up to, it's just south of Kankakee, and I was coming through the country. When I drive somewhere, I always drive the country roads coming back, because you can't see anything on the interstate, but you can on the country road. So came through and looked up, and I was in Papineau, Illinois. And so I stopped by the elevator, because that's all that was there, and I said, "Did you guys ever remember Homer Caldwell here in Papineau?" And the guy got to laughing. He said, "Yeah, he had the meanest kids in town." Said we'd unload beans here at the elevator, and they'd be on top of the roof throwing walnuts back down at us. But no, I've been very blessed with a very successful career, and the reason it is because of other people. It's not because of my skill or my abilities. It's because a lot of good people have taken faith in me and allowed me to market their estates or their farm machinery, and when you look at that, when you sell a farmer out, you are actually taking 100% of his retirement and liquidating it in an afternoon. Yeah. So the job, you don't want to take that lightly. But we've got several good farm machinery sales coming up in this in August and September, and some land. We're marketing some land too now. But I've just been very blessed to do what I wanted to do, because ever since I was a young boy, that's what I wanted to do. Well, I had to go to college and try to make a living, and to do what I wanted to do. And so I'm finally glad. I think I sold farm machinery for Crosses for years, and then about 2001, so it's been over 20 years, I've been 100% on my own, which is good, but it's also kind of unnerving because you have to make your expenses and you have to get up every morning and say, what am I doing to pay the bills, and to pay your income tax or your workman's comp insurance or your liability insurance or your errors and omission insurance or you just look at
every day.
Every day, but that's what everybody has, and I'm not complaining because that's what I wanted to do.
To be an auctioneer, you also have to be a student of human nature. A good
That is exactly
can
right.
stand there and look at his people who are bidders, and he's trying to figure out in his head as he moves along, crying the auction all the time. Is this guy going to raise his bid? And do I go back to him? And it's interesting to watch people. I always, as a kid,
The funny thing about that, and you are exactly right, you're spot on that, and I'm not worried about what they're going to bid. I'm worried about just having another bidder. But you can tell who wants to bid right before a big item comes up because of their concentration. They pay attention to what is being said. They're looking at the equipment or the piece of property that will be sold, and I can tell a crowd of 20 people, 50 people, whatever, I can tell you that 2 or 3 or 4 that are interested in bidding just because of their concentration. So you look at them and say, well, would you like to bid? And they're almost embarrassed because was it that obvious? Well, no, it wasn't that obvious, but they were concentrating and
an auctioneer, Mike, fills a real need in today's society. I remember so well during the days of the Depression. I was a real young kid, and I'd go to the courthouse and stand around and watch them sell farms on the sidewalk there in the courthouse steps. And even then, as a kid, I thought, boy, that farmer's impacted for life. And you'd see the seller stand on the periphery of the crowd.
Yeah. And those are sad.
It was a sad thing because his livelihood was being auctioned off in front of his eyes. And I remember thinking that as a 12-year-old kid. And I've always enjoyed going to auctions. By the way, if you have something that's in your mind that you're going to buy at an auction, if you really want to buy it, step up and buy the doggone thing. I failed to do that 2 or 3 times. As a consequence, I've missed out on some nice things.
But you know, an auction like that, especially a land auction, it serves so many purposes, and you might have 50 people in the crowd. There aren't 50 buyers, but you might have a young farmer that wants to start out farming, and whoever buys the ground might be interested in renting them to this young guy. Or you might have a farm yourself and want to sell it. And so you look at the follow-up bidder, or you might have somebody that wants to do an appraisal. So it's the sale price of that piece of ground is an appraisal. So there's about 6 or 8 or 10 different things that go on from the crowd at an auction that aren't dealing with buying and selling. But it's the information.
You have to really be a student of human nature to ferret out all this.
Well, sometimes you are, but sometimes it's just dumb luck too.
Everybody in the world can say that if they're honest.
I suspect it's been a great eye-opener to you in your profession to see the value of farmland fluctuate like it has, and now it's going, I understand, back up considerably.
Yeah, it's a market. And it goes up and down. And this, I tell you what, that is a really hot market right now. We had a lot of live internet auctions with farm machinery during the fall and spring last year, and those were some of the absolute best auctions I've ever had because of that internet buying. Everybody was cooped up, and with this internet, you're dealing with people all over the country, all through the Midwest, and I sold tractors through the Midwest with these sales and were very successful.
So let's explain how that goes, just real briefly. Somebody sits at home in front of their computer, and they're keyed into what's going on, and they can submit their bid right from their own backyard.
Live. And so we would, on these live internet auctions, we didn't have much of a crowd, and we didn't encourage the crowd. But farmers as well as I do, you're not going to tell them that if they're going to come and spend money, they can't come and touch that piece of equipment. So we had on a lot of these sales, we might have had 50 people there, and they stood and bid, and I said, I'm going to take your bid if you're there, but I just as soon not invite you. And so anyway, we'd pull up right in front of the equipment, and then we also had a person on the phone, and we used the proxy bid platform of internet bidding. So we had a person on the phone with connecting with the proxy bid operator, and when our person on the ground would bid, they'd say if they'd bid $100,000 on a combine, well, then the proxy bid person would type in the $100,000, and we would let them know if the internet was in or if that guy on the ground was in, and back and forth and back and forth. And I think Brian Rage's combine in December brought $234,000 on the internet. So I mean, just incredible. It's amazing. But on saying that, my estate sales suffered because an estate sale is
hands-on.
Well, it's hands-on, but it's also a social event. Bill Gossett comes to see somebody that's there, and you'll talk to half a dozen. No, more than a half a dozen. Bill Gossett doesn't talk to just a half a dozen. But anyway, you'll talk to everybody. Well, with an internet auction like that, the only purpose to bid is to buy it as cheap as you can. So those sales were pretty tough, and we kind of limited them through the spring. Now we've got back to live auctions. We had our first live auction a week ago Sunday, so we're back at it. We've got a good sale Saturday for the Ed Hickeys and Lennards and a couple different groups. So we're back at that, and I've got 5 sales dated after the state fair. In fact, 3 in 1 week, and one of those. I'm proud to say one of those is for Glenn Bryson, the man that worked for me for 25 years. He passed away, and so we will have an estate sale for him in Lake Fork in late August. But Glenn, what a gentleman, and I've got all kinds of Glenn stories, but I won't tell you today. I won't tell you all of them.
Auctioneering is a true art. Now, Mike did the auction per se, the process. Did that come over from Europe, or is that a uniquely American product?
I don't have any idea. I mean, I can't tell you that.
I'm just curious about that.
I know that there are auctions in all kinds of different European countries, and I can't tell you exactly where what the beginning of that is.
It's
but
such a unique process.
The whole purpose of this.
I always call it a slice of Americana. Whether it is or not, I don't know. Maybe it came over from, as they used to say, the old country.
The old country.
Who knows?
But with an auction like that, you might sound like a machine gun and fast and blurred and everything like that, but you really don't get the job done. If people can't understand what you're saying and understand the dollar figure, what is asked and what is what the bid that you have, well, they're not going to bid. They're confused, and you can tell that right off the bat. So the best sellers have the chant that the people can understand, and those guys and there are auto auctioneers and livestock auctioneers that have a captive audience that's all that they know, and these people can understand what they're saying. But if you go to a regular estate sale where Judy Busby is there, or her daughters, or somebody that don't really go to sales very often, and you sound like a machine gun, they won't bid because they can't understand.
Sure.
That's right. That's exactly.
Well, listen, we got about a minute and a half left. The Logan County Fair is going to start what day, sir?
August 1st. Sunday, August 1st with harness racing.
We're going to bifurcate this program a little bit and get back to the Logan County Fair, which is really Mike Maske's purpose in being here today. I'm the only one left, Mike, that remembers when a horse dropped dead on the harness race on the North Turn.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
I can't remember where I am in each day, but I can tell you that horse's name.
What was the horse's name?
Gentry Potemkin.
Gentry Potemkin. Did you pull it off by its ears, or did you hook
That
to
horse died on the North Turn, and by the way, it created a hell of a pile-up because he was a lead horse. And we had carts and drivers flipping all over that North Turn.
Oh,
But
boy.
anyway, the Logan County Fair is a very, very important part of our, and the sad part of it is we've kind of stand down in the past because of this COVID thing, and we're happy to have the Logan County Fair come back. How about I remember Wilbur Lehman, he used to be the secretary who would book all the entertainments.
Oh, yeah.
And
such a good guy.
Notice the house it is. We had real entertainments, such as Dave Merrifield, who did a trapeze act from a helicopter. And we would have more than Mandrake the Magicians. We had real entertainment. So, is there any great act that you'd like to put a word in right now? As we
Josh Turner. Dave Irwin has done such a good job. You know, we had.
Yes.
We've been so blessed with having people that are good superintendents and are good help. And Dave Irwin, over the years, has brought so many good entertainers to Logan County, and and it wouldn't be possible without the sponsorship of the local businesses and individuals that put money out so that we can have just a cut above, and that Dave Irwin, he is a cut above. He works real hard, and we're so thankful that he's part of our organization.
Well, nothing works until somebody puts their shoulders to the wheel and started to turn, and we've had a number of folks put their shoulders to the wheel down through the years for the Logan County Fair. Mike Maske, we appreciate your taking your time today. We had a bifurcated program, but I think it worked out all right. Anything you'd like to say before we close off, Mike?
You know, I just invite all our fair friends to come back and to be safe. Come to the Logan County Fair, but you know, it's more. Like we talked about these auctions, it's more a social event where our good friends come to the fair, regardless of what's in the grandstand. Just come see those people that you haven't seen for a year, and be safe and take care of yourself. Get your vaccine, and we'll see you in about 3 weeks, August 1st at the fair.
Judy and I thank Mike Maske very much for being with us.